everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game sales. It is March 10th, 2022, and in today's video we are going to look at the Famitsu charts from Japan for the week of February 28th to March 6th, 2022. We're going to look at the hardware and software side of things, beginning with hardware. The number one best-selling console of the week in Japan was the Nintendo Switch, which moved 96,952 units. In second place was PlayStation 5, which did 25,679 units. Xbox Series came in at third, moving 1,321 units. In fourth was the Nintendo 3DS, which did 511 units. And finally, in fifth place was PlayStation 4, which sold 11 units. Looking at the chart a little bit more deep diving, we have a couple of cool things. First up, Nintendo Switch had a significant boost over last week. We went from 70,000 to 96,000. That's considerable. That 96,000 for this week is also up by a decent amount over last year's 89,000. So overall, we're looking pretty good for 2022. We're at 1,090,000 year to date, and that compares to last year's 1,315,000. So, last year is definitely ahead by 225,000 or so, but it's not unimaginable to think that, maybe Nintendo Switch in 2021 can get really close to 2022's hardware. Could it top it in Japan? Possibly. Software-wise, I've said several times now, I think it's going to happen. Hardware, I'm still banking on 2021 being better overall in terms of hardware sales, but I think that it'll get close, definitely over 4.5 million for 2022 in Japan for hardware. Another considerable thing that Nintendo Switch achieved this week in Japan, this last week rather, is that it now has passed 24 million units total. In fact, the total is 24,009,568. That's only 582,000 less than the Nintendo 3DS. That Nintendo 3DS lifetime total is 24.5 million. Basically 24.6 when you're looking at how close it is. Nintendo Switch is almost there. So several weeks away. Yeah, sometime in April, probably end of April at the earliest, I think, is when Nintendo Switch is going to pass it up. And then you've got the tall mountain to climb that is the original Nintendo DS. Can Nintendo Switch beat that system both in Japan and worldwide? It's going to be pretty exciting. On the PlayStation 5 side of things, 25,679 is quite a bit higher than 17,000. That's a good improvement by 8. It's also an improvement over last year's 22,000. So PS5, we're seeing more often than not some above 10,000 sales. Let's see how long they can keep this momentum up, but you're starting to get, a fair amount of PS5s in Japan. Technically, it is lower than where PlayStation 4 was, respectively, at this point in its life in Japan. But the 1,428,000 that it's at is not bad, just a little under PS4. And hopefully, Sony's able to bust out some more, maybe even the playing field a little bit. But I still wouldn't be surprised to see if North America, Europe get the overwhelming amount of support from Sony. Xbox Series had kind of an odd dip, going from 4,285 last week to only 1,321 this week. Not sure what happened there. Maybe Microsoft just allocated more consoles to the West, where Elden Ring is going to do better for the Xbox brand, and then that's why Japan got 3,000 less basically. It is higher than last year's 566. Also, the Xbox Series continues to far outpace Xbox One in Japan, so that's cool. 3DS, interestingly enough, even with last week, PS4 down. If you're looking at the hardware breakdown, more specifically, how each console did within its own subsection, PS5 physical was far superior to PS5 digital, 22,000 to 3,000. Xbox Series X and S was 700 to 500, so not too great of a difference in those two. And on the Nintendo Switch side of things, you can see once again the OLED model is leading the way. People are happy with spending $50 more, or in Japan's case, that equivalent amount of yen more, for a better, more premium version of the Nintendo Switch. 55,000 OLEDs, 26,000 base models, and 15,000 regular Nintendo Switch Lites. I say regular Nintendo Switch Lites because that is the only Nintendo Switch Lite. But yeah, cool week for hardware. Nice seeing, this Pac-Man split be a little bit more open-mouthed. Usually Nintendo is so far ahead that, like, if you had to make a pie chart, there's very little room for anybody else to exist, right? We've had those weeks. This is still quite the Nintendo domination. 96,000 on Nintendo Switch alone is more than everything else combined, but that mouth is a little bit more open this week than some. So pretty cool to see everybody eating well in Japan, and major props to Nintendo Switch hitting that 24 million. I want to know from you, when do you think Nintendo Switch will pass 3DS in Japan? We're 582,000 away. If you're looking at that month of April and the last few weeks of March, yeah, honestly, I think that estimation of end of April being the time seems pretty likely. It could be mid-April, it could be early May, but somewhere around there for sure. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, on the software side of things, we've got some cool stuff to look at because there are some new games on here and some games that are relatively new that are hanging in. For the week, the number one best-selling piece of software in Japan was Triangle Strategy from Square Enix for Nintendo Switch. It debuted at, physical alone, 86,298 units in Japan. I could confirm that worldwide, for its opening weekend, Triangle Strategy did over 500,000. Not specifically saying just how much over. Do understand it's not a tremendous amount over, but basically call it 500,000 is what Triangle Strategy did, both digitally across eShop and digital codes that you acquire to then use on eShop, of course, and physical worldwide opening weekend. Pretty solid start. Some territories it didn't do as well as Octopath Traveler, for instance. Like in Japan, Triangle Strategy did a little lower than Octopath Traveler when it came out a few years ago, but worldwide on the whole, Triangle Strategy did a little bit better in its opening weekend. Will it hit 21? Will it hit 1 million in 21 days like Octopath Traveler? Based off of the early weekend debut, that would be the safe bet that, okay, it started off higher, it should hit 1 million in less than 21 days, like maybe in 17, 18 days, something like that. Word of mouth bodes well for it. The real-time strategy genre is a little less popular than the RPG genre, but it's also been a genre that has been lapsed from gamers for longer, and this harkens back to some of that old school stuff. So you have some fans that want to dive in because they're hungry for it. Some new fans that are like, hey, wasn't Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, real-time strategy? And isn't that Fire Emblem Three Houses one of those types of games? Yeah, so maybe there is some new interest that will give it a little bit of a longer tail and a softer drop week in and a week out. Time will tell. It's a mixed bag of things that you have to take into consideration, but overall the quality is definitely good, so it's deserving of hitting that 1 million. I also think that it's not unimaginable to think that Triangle Strategy, long run, should it get ported to multiple platforms, eventually having, 9 months from now, for instance, an Xbox, PlayStation, or PC port. Don't even know if that's going to happen officially, but if that happens, then I could see this game, topping 2.5 million worldwide long run on all platforms. But that's a little bit of speculation talk for another time, I guess, right? Coming in at second place, anyways, Gran Turismo 7. It was the PlayStation 5 version that was the best selling, moving 73,399 copies. In third was Gran Turismo 7 on PlayStation 4, which did 64,565 copies. Overall, a pretty solid start for GT7 in Japan, selling over 130,000 units physical alone. How much did the digital make up for it? Probably a fair amount. We might be looking at something close to 200,000, maybe under, but close to. So pretty good start. We went from not having any PlayStation games on these charts for a long time to all of a sudden, okay, getting Horizon Forbidden West, getting Elden Ring, getting Gran Turismo 7. Will these games last for a long time on the charts? Probably not the longest, not becoming evergreens, but hanging out in the top 30s, most likely for a decent amount of time. Speaking of Elden Ring, on excuse me, on PlayStation 4, Elden Ring did pretty good this week. It had a 71% drop, which is not bad, especially for this type of game. And on an older console, it was the fourth best selling game of the week, moving 55,310. Look at that. Physical alone, 243,800. Already almost a quarter million. Pretty cool start. Well, a couple of weeks in, but still pretty good relative, start to this game in Japan. And worldwide, of course, being just a massive success. In fifth place, Pokemon Legends Arceus, hanging in there with these soft drops week in and week out. 50,481 units, physical alone. Still very respectable for a game that's now been out for several weeks. Only a 17% drop, 2,120,030 copies total, physical alone, just in Japan. Really cool stuff. And sixth was the PlayStation 5 version of Elden Ring. But here you see, okay, this is a pretty good divide. It had an 84% drop. Definitely not as good as the PS4's hold of 71% drop. It went down to 14,746. That's a lot less than PS4's 55,310. But if you look at it, for PS5, for the limited install base that it has, 104,763 total. You combine that with PS4's, and now you're looking at over 350,000. And over 350,000, or, well, over 347,000, so not quite 350, but almost 350,000, over a third of a million for just a couple of weeks in Japan, physical alone. That's good. And like I said, on the install base side of things, there aren't a ton of PS5 owners in Japan. So if you're looking at that 104,000 people that bought the game physically so far, and you take into consideration that PlayStation 5 is only at 1.4 million in Japan, okay, 1 in every 14 people that own a PS5 own Elden Ring. Probably even a better ratio of 1 in 13, 1 in 12 when you figure out, okay, how many more people bought this game digitally. Cool, right? In seventh, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which did 14,339 units, up 10% from the previous week. Always good to see Mario Kart on here and doing better. Like I said previously, I imagine that this game's sales are going to go up week in and week out because of that recently announced Mario Kart 8 DLC booster pack, giving us 48 courses over the next year and a half approximately, with the first 8 tracks to drop this March, and getting 6 total drops over the next 18 months or something like that. That's pretty sweet stuff. So more people realizing that, hey, we're not going to get a Mario Kart 9 this gen, or maybe at the tail end of Nintendo Switch slash, how to bring about Nintendo Switch 2, have it be a dual release, cross-play, cross-platform release. Maybe that's Nintendo's vision, but we're not getting a new Mario Kart till 2024 at the earliest, probably, right? So more people now saying, you know what? I'm going to buy Mario Kart 8. Now's the time for me. I skipped on it. Now's the time. Plus, we always have new Nintendo Switch owners coming in, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is just one of those games that you have to buy if you're a Nintendo Switch owner, It's so universally loved, and it appeals to such a tremendous amount of people total. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, another game with an 18% increase over the previous week. It came in at 8th, moving 11,399 copies. In 9th is Mario Party Superstars for Nintendo Switch, which did 9,957 copies. It's at 895,966 physical alone in Japan. And this game is on the verge of hitting 1 million physical. It's still a couple of months away. It already surpassed that if you look at physical and digital combined, but still, another game that did up 1% over the previous week. And in 10th place, Minecraft on Nintendo Switch did 9,474 copies, up 2% from the previous, over 2.5 million physical alone in Japan. What a massive success for Microsoft Game Studios. And that's one of the interesting things, like, Xbox could hold on to Minecraft to themselves, right? They have a powerful game, they have a powerful brand, and only release it on Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X. But would they gain more people saying, oh my gosh, I need my Minecraft 2, I need my Minecraft 3, and buy into the Xbox ecosystem to then buy that one game? Would they make more money off of that? Or let it be shared everywhere and get, boom, these 3 million copies sold on Nintendo Switch in Japan, and get these several more million sold on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation consoles in the United States and Europe, and just overall now get that much money from that many more millions, because you probably wouldn't have all those people's worth of people buying Minecraft buy into the Xbox user base. You'd have a fraction of it. That fraction would, yes, buy your console, getting you something, buy the game, getting you something, now being a part of the ecosystem, buy some Game Pass, buy some titles, get something. But would it be as much as just letting everyone have it and collecting the money from them? Not necessarily, right? This comes into all the decision making that Microsoft has to put into it. Even when it comes to stuff like the Activision acquisition. Will Microsoft make more money long run if they hold on to Call of Duty and say, hey, you want to play it? Long run, you're going to have to buy Xbox. Or, okay, we'll make more if we still allow it to be on Nintendo and PlayStation consoles, because more millions of people will buy the game if it's on more platforms, right? I could see them doing some kind of exclusivity thing for some type of time-based scenario where trying to have a slice of the cake and keep it whole, release Activision's Call of Duty games, maybe release a future Minecraft title or something like that initially on Xbox, 9-month exclusivity, get more people that are really hardcore, really hungry for that next entry to buy into the Xbox user base, buy Game Pass, then eventually buy other titles, and then release the game on Nintendo and PlayStation and stuff like that. So then you experience that second resurgence of multiple people buying it across all the other platforms. We'll see if that happens, but that would be a pretty sound strategy and kind of fair, They spent a lot of money to acquire these studios, so I don't think it would be past them to want to, try to maximize as much as they can while still being pretty consumer friendly, because that's kind of a fair thing to do. Good software charts. You got a decent split. 6 on Nintendo Switch, 2 on PlayStation 4, 2 on PlayStation 5. This is Paul Gale from Paul Gale Network signing out. Thank you for joining me today for video game sales. It is Mario Day, by the way, so happy Mario Day to everyone. It is March 10th. Pretty cool stuff. I will see you all later on for more video game news, video game sales, video game talk. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, I appreciate a like, a comment, a subscription, a notification bell ring, any type of engagement that you have with me in the comments section below. I always look forward to and enjoy conversating with you all. Thank you again. PGN signing out. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. And of course, thank you to Chris1964 from the InstallBaseForum.com forums for nicely putting together today's hardware and software charts that Famitsu provided into what you saw in today's video.